Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA Wrestling's Bound for Glory 2024. Lots of highs, a couple of lows, and we're going to get to all that. I want to hear everybody's thoughts. So I did this last year, and it's been a while since I've done this. I'm actually doing a call-in show. So what I did is I sent the link to a few of my buddies, mostly Patreon subscribers and just guys that I knew that watched the show. And I want to hear from them. I want to hear from you in the chat. So if you're in the chat, let me know. If anybody wants to pop on the show, let me know, and I'll drop the link. Hold on, swig of coffee. I'm actually drinking some coffee at 5:32 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Bound for Glory just ended a few minutes ago with the Hardys winning the TNA Tag Team Championships in the Full Metal Mayhem match. That was a giant. It actually ended up being a pretty good match, but I want to hear from the Brace for Impact Nation. So before I give all of my opinions, I'm gonna go to the nation. Let's go to Ayo first. Nonzo, I see you in the chat, dude. I'm gonna get to you next. Ayo has never been on the show before, but he has been a major supporter of mine. He's a big time supporter of TNA. He does all kinds of cool graphics. He's always promoting the brand. So I want to give him first dibs tonight. What's up, Ayo? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. So,
All
what did you think of the show overall, dude?
Overall, I think pretty good show. I mean, most of the matches delivered. Josh and Macklin was pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Santana and Moose was pretty good. And obviously the knockouts match was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
What else? But yeah, most part I can't complain. But obviously we're gonna get to the to the Hendry the Hendry and Nick match.
Yeah.
Well, it was overbooked as we expected, but you know, it is.
Yeah, I mean that's what we had to expect. Hey, before we go to that, you tweeted me a little bit ago. I did not see this information, but I want you to break the news here on the show about what's coming up in January, something that we've been talking about for a long time. Hold on, I'm actually going to give you the breaking news button. Here we go. I'm going to let Ayo break the news.
Breaking news.
All right, so we got Hard to Kill. That news was broken. That's January 19th. What's coming up on January 23rd?
Well, January 23rd, this has been a long time coming for TNA fans. TNA Impact will be live. That's right, live Thursday. At the Bowen Center. They're going to go back to the Bowen Center in San Antonio, Texas.
And that's where they held Victory Road. That's where they got 2,000 people, and I think the TV taping actually had like well over 1,000 too. Yeah. So it's clearly a good spot for them, and they're going to be in Dallas, Texas, at the Chris Caldwell Center for not Hard to Kill. It's Genesis. They went back to Genesis, so they got rid of the Don Callis era Hard to Kill name and went back to the original TNA January pay-per-view, which was Genesis back in the day. And they're actually going to, that's actually a pretty nice venue that they're going to. That's where AEW runs and Ring of Honor's been there and New Japan. So TNA stepping up their game with some of these venues coming up in 2025.
Yeah. Genesis coming back was completely unexpected. But yeah, I mean, as an OG fan, pretty cool to hear. Hope to see like they're bringing back more of the original themes. But yeah, can't wait for January, man.
Yeah, I feel you. Hey, I'm going to bring Nonzo up, and I want to hear what he has to say. You stay on, Ayo, okay?
All right.
Hey, Nonzo, dude, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Nice to talk to you, Ayo.
Good.
I know we've interacted a couple times on Twitter, but we've never spoken face to face. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you been? It's good to hear you.
Likewise.
So, Nonzo, what did you think of the show overall?
Well, I'm kind of mixed on the show. I'm pretty mixed. The show started off really well. I was really impressed. And then we came down to the last few matches and we just jumped off a cliff. Like we literally jumped off a cliff. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. I think Jeff doing the really tall ladder through the double table. I legit thought like, okay, he finally killed himself on that ladder spot.
Right.
It took him 25 years, but he finally did it.
Right. Now the ladder match initially started off really slow and really bad. And slowly towards the end, it started to pick up. But man, it's like it's the same thing we've kind of touted for a while now. The Hardys, man, they just can't go anymore, man, especially at that level. We could just I think everything that went bad during the match was sort of attributed to them. They're really aging, and it really slowed down the momentum of the match. I don't know if you guys paid attention, but if you guys noticed when the system and ABC, when they had some spots during the match, and you could just tell like the momentum sort of shifted. You could just tell that the match was becoming alive when both teams were facing off in the ring. It's just, man, you could just the tag match itself. The tag match itself didn't live up to the expectations that I had. I'm pretty disappointed though in the Hendry Nemeth match. And this is one of the issues I have with TNA sometimes. I felt like, they tried to make this match so complicated that it did not need to be this way. This should have just been a singles match, to be honest. What's his name? Cass had no business just being in that match. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt just to see how things are going to go with Cass. Maybe it will turn out to be a good match, but man, the execution in that match was just poor. Like, it was really poor.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think about Io? I'm gonna go to you first. What do you think about Hendry not winning? What did you feel about that?
Well, going in, as soon as I knew that Hendry and Nemeth was going to be the second to last, I figured something was going to be up. Like either two ways, the crowd was going to boo and not be pleased, or surprisingly something. But yeah, I would say it was kind of like over a bit too much. Once JBL came in, and then you kind of figure like, okay, what's the next step? And then when he attacks Hendry, and then like, okay. But now the confusing part is now Nemeth still playing the like, I don't know what happened, like yada yada yada. So which seems like they're gonna like put it as a he's gonna turn heel. He knew Bradshaw and was doing this and that. But yeah, as far as Hendry, we're just gotta see where it goes from here. Because I think BQ, BQ from his part mentioned some in TNA might think he not need the title, at least not now, or maybe they want to do a chase of some sort. But
I think they think that they have Cody Rhodes, and so they're trying to keep him from the title. Here's the problem, and I'm a Joe Hendry fan. Joe Hendry has way more limitations than Cody, I would say, and I think I'm being nice when I say that. Like, I think Cody is a very well-rounded performer. He is very top of the line, elite performer. And Joe Hendry, there's some flaws in his game, and he's a bit of a silly ass. And so I happen to disagree with them. But you know what? Like, they have proven me wrong with the way they've been booking him, because they keep burying the guy, and the guy just stays over. So what do I know? But I was completely disappointed. I felt they deflated the room whenever that happened. Thankfully, they were smart to put it in the co-main event. And when they did, I was like, okay, Hendry's probably going to lose because they're going to – and then the Hardys are going to win because they're going to want to send everybody home happy. And they're not going to give it to you with the world title, so they're going to give it to you with the tag titles. And that's exactly what happened. So we have a super chat, guys. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys chime in on the super chat, and then I got a couple more questions for you. So this is coming from Sour Patch. He says, do you think their new strategy in 2025 is to do one live Impact episode and one taping at a time and see how that goes? I'll go ahead and answer that one first. I think what they do is they're going to, like on that Thursday, I think they'll tape it live and then immediately after tape another show for the following week. And then 2 weeks later, see where they're at and maybe go live again. That's kind of what I think. What do you think, Ayo?
I like the strategy better. Yeah, like do a couple live shows. See how it goes. The reception goes. Yeah, but it kind of brings freshness to it. So yeah, I'm interested in how it goes.
Okay, and Nonzo, what do you think about the taping schedule?
I actually like this method. I agree with AO. I think adopting, just taking it one step at a time, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Going live is pretty expensive. It's pretty expensive, and I'm pretty curious to see how they move forward with this format, especially now they don't have a TV deal just yet. So I'm pretty curious to see how they move forward with this format. So I'm pretty curious. But
Right.
there was also, Mike, real quick, there was also something I wanted to touch on. About Henry not winning the title. Um, to be quite honest, I wasn't surprised. I just don't know why. Henry has all the momentum, but when I
Were
it's
you surprised Kazarian didn't cash in? I think
I
going
knew
in like that's kind of
I mean I knew Kazarian was going to fool around, but I knew he wasn't going to cash in. I mean, it's they made that so painfully obvious. They kept teasing it. They kept teasing that.
right.
I knew just that wasn't going to happen. But
Yeah.
for Henry, though, Henry just doesn't register with me, man. He really doesn't register with me. I mean, I'm happy he's over. I like the idea that we have a talent like him that's over, but he just doesn't click with me as a
He's for me, I happen to like him, but he's Scottish Eli Drake. So
exactly.
hey guys, I'm gonna let
John
Ao
Cena.
Nonzo. I got another guest right now. I'm gonna let you guys roll out.
Yeah.
And I'll be chatting with you guys soon. Okay. Thank you so much for being on and calling in.
Absolutely. Appreciate
All
it,
right.
man.
All right,
Peace
fellas,
out, man.
take care. Ibu, man, what's up?
Nothing much, man. I'm chilling here in my room
Well,
eating a pot pie, you know?
yeah, hell yeah, man. Thank you for making your debut on Brace for Impact. I greatly appreciate it. I was surprised to see you watching Bound for Glory tonight, man. What did you think of the show?
Yeah, I was in and out, to be honest, because, the Yankees were on, and I was
Hey,
multitasking.
is my jersey offensive to you right now? My bad.
It hurts my feelings a little bit, just a little bit,
Yeah.
but what are you going to do? Look, I'll say this, for what I caught of the show, and I caught a lot of the earlier parts, I thought it was largely very good, honestly, up to a point,
Yeah.
I thought Macklin and Alexander had a good one. I was a fan of their match. Vikingo and Speedball had a good opener. PCO is always fun. I'm surprisingly not tired of his shtick, even though he's been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
So that was good. I only unfortunately caught the finish to Masha and Jordan, so I can't really speak on that match.
I would say for you, I think you should probably go back and check that one out when you get a chance.
Okay.
I thought that was one of the better matches of the show. It took a while to get going, but by the end of the match, they really had the crowd into it.
I buy that. Look, Jordan Grace is awesome. I think she's one of the best American women's wrestlers there is out there. So it doesn't surprise me. My big takeaway from the show though was for me, Mike Santana and Moose.
Yeah.
I really respect Mike Santana. I think he's. I don't know if you saw me just losing my mind on Twitter, but I dropped a bunch of yelling, screaming voice notes at the end of his match because I feel really passionately about the fact that this guy bet on himself and took a chance because he was somebody that was pretty vocal with his dissatisfaction with his role in AEW at the end there. And a lot of fans kind of like dunked on him and clowned on him. Like, man, just grab that tag rope, man. Just do, if you want to get back on TV, just be a fucking tag wrestler. But at the end of the day, it's something he didn't want to do. And he really saw something in himself that the promoter didn't see. And that's fine. That's wrestling sometimes. But what he did about it was he took initiative and just fucking left. And it wasn't like he was jumping into a big pit of money in WWE or anything like that. No, he said, I'm gonna grind in the indies and we'll see what happens. And he went to TNA. And look, man, he's got himself in better shape. He's in better shape. He has a better look. He has a full name. And he's having good matches, man. And in this match with Moose, I thought he looked great, like actively great. And so I was just so happy for him that he had that performance. I thought that match was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And so I was real into that one. And what else? What else? Yeah, I was a fan of the Alexander match, like I said. I like the opener. I caught the like last few minutes to the Hendry Nemeth deal, and I was just kind of like, okay, that's fascinating, I suppose.
So that match, do not go back and watch.
Gotcha. I buy that. I'm not a
start to finish. It was pretty bad. And I'm not like a Joe Hendry hater. Like I just see him for what he is, and I think you need guys like that in the space. Like like not everybody can be the same, right? So you got a guy that's got a ton of charisma. He has a shtick. He has a gimmick. It's caught fire. It's over right now. I don't think anybody can deny that. So I happen to enjoy him, and I thought he should have won the title. But I think we're starting to see what TNA really sees in him, and they made him lose again.
It's just fascinating to me because I'm not a Henry guy.
Yeah.
But he is, like, to my eye, TNA's most popular wrestler in terms of crossing over past their fan base and making an imprint and a dent on social media. And when he didn't win in the multi-person match that they did a couple like recently, I assumed, okay, he's gonna get a singles match. He's gonna get through some guys, and he's gonna have a singles match for the title at Bound for Glory. And come Bound for Glory, here we are. It's him and Nemeth. And once I saw that this wasn't the main event, I was like, oh, he's not winning this thing.
Yeah.
And then my next question was, well, why? So I think I'm gonna assume the thinking here is we may not have much juice in 2025. And so we're going to build our year around him chasing. Maybe. I don't know if that's the case, but that was my assumption was, okay, we're going to make these people really want this thing. Even though he's already been chasing for months, maybe they're just going to elongate it. And now the chase is what they're going to build like the first half of next year around. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no,
that's what I'm assuming.
I think that you're right. I think everybody's saying that he's probably going to be leaving soon. I think Sean Ross Sapp has been pretty clear that he's around for a while. And now they just broke the news earlier tonight that Impact, the TV show, is going live in 2025, at least for the first episode. January 23rd, they're going to go live, which is not something that they've done since the Spike TV days. So they that might be the thinking. They might think that, like, hey, like, we're going to try to turn him into our Cody, and we're going to do all this stuff. I just don't know how much longer this guy can stay as over as he is, because he's not Cody. He's much more limited performer than Cody is. And so I don't know. But you know what? Like, every time I think that, like, they've blown it with him, he just continues to stay over, and he's actually gotten more over. Tonight, like, he was next to Jeff Hardy. He came across as, like, the biggest star on the show.
Yeah, he's getting over and staying over is his biggest skill as a performer. And so when I look at Joe, like, to me, I don't think TNA is in a position to play around with that type of thing. You know, like, if I'm in their position, I'm not going to risk that type of thing. But to the credit of Joe, he just finds a way usually. And it's been a couple of years at that. But yeah, I don't know. Like you just said, he's not Cody Rhodes. Yeah. And they're, as a promotion, are not in a position to just try their luck with fans and fan patience. You know, it's not like an institution as a whole that the fans believe in, to where they're going to just be patient with TNA for months and care of that enough. Maybe they do, but to take that gamble is just very risky, in my opinion.
The good news for TNA is they're owned by their television station, so they're not in any type of danger. They, like, nobody watches the TV show because nobody has that channel. But I think they're banking on, like, this whole thing continuing to do well at the box office, which has done very well. I mean, they have since June, they have really been kicking ass in ticket sales. Yeah, if you ask the company, they will tell you that app subscriptions are way up, but they will not tell you what those numbers are. they'll just tell you that it's up, and then pay-per-view buys are up according to Meltzer. So, like, I think they're like, hey, we got something going on here. Let's just keep it going, and then at the maybe next year in 2025 is when we'll finally pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I am really happy to see, like, their attendance is doing as well as they have been recently. Like, every paper I tune into, it looks like there's a nice house there, and, like, you can't take that for granted, because they were not in this position 2-3 years ago.
They weren't in this position 8 months ago. Like
exactly.
so they did 2 shows in Vegas at the Pearl at the Palms, which I don't know if you've ever been there at the Palms, but
No.
that's a really big time casino, and then you can get a lot of walk up traffic there. So you can sell tickets there pretty easily. So I was like, okay, they're doing well in Vegas at the Palms at the Pearl, which I've been to a few times. I was like, okay, that's one thing, but can they go to these other cities where they don't really have like a big walk-up crowd? They don't have a bunch of drunks at the craps table walking over to see wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, can they do that everywhere? Well, they didn't for a while, but it wasn't until June when they went to Chicago and they brought in the Hardys that really everything started clicking. And then of course putting Joe Hendry on NXT television.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of those things. I think it was like the buzz from like the perceived NXT partnership, and you have Matt and Jeff there, and you know, regardless of how I feel about them right now, which is, I think they're just not. They don't have it anymore. The bottom line is they have cachet, and they still mean something.
Dude, they're the most, like, it's them and Hendry, the most over acts in the entire company.
Yeah,
it was so funny. I was they were at the Pistons game the other night with Joe Hendry, and they got a huge ovation. Everybody's going crazy for them. And then if you take a look at Darby Allin, who was at the Lions game, or no, he was at a Seahawks game earlier in the week. They panned over to him, they announced him, and like nobody said shit. Like they had no idea who that guy was. I'm like, well,
Really?
the Hardys have been on television for 25 years. They've just been over forever. So they're still a pretty big deal.
Wow. I mean, I believe it. Listen, I was at Dynamite in Newark in January, and the Hardys came out for Rampage, and like the live audience around me treated it as, well, we can't leave Rampage because this is our chance to finally see the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
And there was just like an inherent like respect and happiness to see them. So I buy that. I buy that completely. Again, they still carry weight. Their names have that cachet. It's why like when I saw the Henry match wasn't closing, I was like, that's kind of interesting. But then I realized like the Hardys are closing this thing and they're probably winning the tag belts. And that's exactly what they did. They opted for that. And hilariously, like the people were treating this thing like they won like the World Series. They were treating this thing like it was the biggest deal in the world. When to me, I'm like, it's just the Hardys winning the TNA's tag belts, but these people like they're like losing their fucking minds for this thing. And I was just like, I was so beside myself because it's like, to me, it wasn't a big deal, and I also didn't think the match was very good at all. But again, like to these people, it just doesn't matter. Like it's Matt and Jeff. They grew up on them. You know, like I said, it's 25 years of just cachet and memories and nostalgia and all of that. So I think TNA is going to keep running that horse and going to that well until it stops proving to be financially beneficial for them.
Until one of them ends up in prison.
Exactly. So I think that trio, that combination of the Hardys and Joe Hendry, that's going to be their money pairing from a business standpoint as we go into next year.
Yeah. Just a couple last things before I let you go. Thank you so much for spending some time. I really appreciate it. Talking some TNA with us, man. You don't get a chance to talk TNA very often. You're always kind of caught up in WWE and AEW stuff. So I think it's pretty cool that you're on a TNA show. What did you think of Josh Alexander defeating Steve Maclin? Kind of, since we kind of know that like come February, he's probably going to be wearing a different color jersey.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when Maclin came to TNA, they invested so much in him, and they really gave him a really well done push, I thought. And the reinvention of him and the presentation and everything, like I was actually really pleasantly surprised by how that whole thing came off, right?
Yeah.
But since then, I think since the title push and all that, like he's kind of like settled at a certain level, and that's the level that they are happy to keep him at. And he didn't beat Josh here, which I didn't look back like, what, really? Like it was just kind of like, yeah, like Josh is just above the totem pole. But to your point, he very well may be departing relatively soon. And traditional wrestling booking, conventional wisdom suggests that you phase that guy down and you put over the guys that you'll have longer than the guy that's about to leave. But they didn't do so here. That'll be something to monitor. Josh's finishes will be something to monitor as you get to like January, I think.
Well, he's lost 3 pay-per-views in a row. in convincing fashion each and every time. Twice was with his own finishers. Like Nick Nemeth defeated him with his own pile driver, and then Joe Hendry tapped him out with the ankle lock.
Yeah.
So with this one, what I think they're doing is I think they're going to try to get like a 3-match series with Macklin. And so if you're going to do that, you probably want the heel to go over first. And I think that's where they're going. And that's why they did the whole zip tie thing. So now Macklin looked like a bad son of a bitch. He didn't tap out. He passed out. And I think they're going to try to get some more juice out of that. And then probably in January, Macklin will finally beat him. But that seems like logical booking to me. But then I remember I'm talking about fucking TNA and like anything.
Right. No, but what you said makes total sense. It's that you have a pay-per-view in January with Genesis, and the fashion with which Macklin lost, it lends itself to doing repeat matches. And so you could do something inconclusive at maybe a big TV episode or something in the main event. And then, you shoot some angles and you build this and you take it right to January. So, the way you laid that out there, it does set up for Macklin to be the big project that like is Josh Alexander's focus before he gets out of here. So that would make sense. And I'm all for that. I think, again, like I said, I think Macklin right now in his career is in the right place. I think he's reinvented himself well, broadly speaking. And there's still more to do. So when they tried to really make him the guy last time, it didn't 100% land. But they did kind of like, they did really, he forged his lane in TNA is the best way I could say. You know what I think? Like the ideal TNA run for an ex-AEW or WWE talent is a run where you go here and you find yourself again and you almost reinvent yourself and tinker with your presentation and your role and everything. And that's what Mike Santana has done. That's what Macklin has done. And so
that's what Big Bill did when he was W. Morrissey. It was the same thing.
Yeah. That's the thing. Big Bill is just him taking what worked for him in TNA over to AEW. That's totally true. Because he didn't just do big casts in TNA. No, he reinvented himself and took it over. And I think that's a healthy place to be in the wrestling ecosystem, is being a number 3 promotion in America where guys can go there and get paid and do their thing and also kind of like figure things out a bit and then before leaving. I think that's very healthy, actually. And that's a necessary promotion to have in the world, in the ecosystem. You need places like that. And so, again, I digress. The point is Macklin being the last project for Alexander to kind of work on and get over before leaving. That's totally fine by me. And I think Macklin's a talented guy. And I'll be watching the repeat matches because I like the one they had tonight. I thought it was a good match.
Yeah, they had a really good match last year at Victory Road in September, so it'd be September of 2023. They were supposed to have a pay-per-view match last year, but Josh ended up getting hurt, and that's when Macklin won the title over Kushida. So they ended up doing the match in the fall, and it was a very good match. It was one of my matches of the year for TNA, and then I saw what they did tonight. Tonight was more of an angle, but it was still a very good match, but it ended with an angle. So that means I get more of these matches, and that makes me pretty happy because these are 2 of my favorite guys. So I'm a big fan of both of these guys. But Ibu, man, I really appreciate you hopping on, dude. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and do like a recap the rest of the show, and I'm going to put the link here in the chat and see if anybody else wants to pop on. But I greatly appreciate you being here, dude.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it. Anytime if I'm available, you could always call on me. And best of luck with the rest of the show, man.
All right, man. You take care. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
All right, guys. That was Ibu of Wrestle Purist. I really always love talking to him, man. He gets a bad rap. He's such a smart dude about pro wrestling. So, but hey, I dropped the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to hop on, you can click that link. You don't have to be on video, as you saw with Nonzo and Ibu. So if you click the link, you can hop on. But if nobody wants to hop on, that's fine too. I'll take your chats. I'll take your super chats. You guys got me for 30 more minutes. Bound for Glory is in the books, and So I haven't really had a chance to give my complete opinions of the show. And I gotta say, I thought it was a pretty good show. Like overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. I did not watch the pre-show. So if somebody tells me in the chat who won between the Elegant Sisters and Zaya Brookside and Brinley Reese, I will just defer to you. I would say that that happened. But I honestly, like off the top of my head, I can't tell you who won. I have no idea how that match went. I have no idea if it was good or not. I never looked into it. I was doing dad stuff at the time, but I did catch the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, and it was okay. It was you typically get some big surprises in that, but we got Rohit Raju, and I like Rohit Raju, so I thought that was kind of fun. But we saw Frankie Kazarian get the victory there, so that was cool. Everybody, drop your questions in the chat, or if you got comments, and I will get to those. The opening match was Vikingo versus Speedball Mike Bailey, and this was a Dave Meltzer thirst trap. So it was this match was designed to get a 5-star rating out of Dave. I don't think they're gonna get it though. I could be wrong. It depends on how he's feeling and when he gets a chance to watch it. But I thought the match was really good. I just didn't think that they ever got that next gear to where it was like this epic match, and it, you know what I mean. But I did find it to be a really good match. I mean, they hit move after move after move in that match. I just didn't think that the drama was there that we saw last year between Speedball and Ospreay, and the crowd heat also, but it was still really good. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm like dogging the match because I didn't give it since I didn't think it was like complete 5, boy. If somebody told me it was 5 stars, I'd be okay, I could see that. But I just happened not to think that they ever got to that 5-star level. In like the Mike Gilbert rating system, which is very subjective and can change at any moment. But I did think that the match was very good. Vikingo availed himself well. He is going to be on TNA coming up this week on Halloween. They advertised him as the new TNA X Division champion. The only problem with that is that he didn't win the match. So I think it's possible that he wins the match on Halloween, but he just didn't win it tonight. But they announced him as the X Division champion. I thought that was pretty funny. And it was funny because Hannafin like no sold the graphic, but on the graphic on the show they put him as the X Division champion, and maybe at one point he was going to win the title, and they changed their mind and they kept it on Speedball. And I don't know what that means, because we all know Speedball might be wearing a different color jersey here pretty soon too. Let's see. Let's go here towards the end. He goes for a big high spot off the top rope, off the ropes, back in the ring, but Bailey moves and avoids it. Vikingo stops. Then the referee checks on his knee before Bailey re-engages and specifically focuses his attack on the knee of the challenger. The two proceed to put on an instant classic of high risk, high impact offensive showcases for the next 10 minutes, including an insane Canadian destroyer off the ropes onto the hardest part of the ring. In the end, Bailey got to hit a float over suplex off the ropes for the victory to retain his X Division championship. Yeah. Oh, just a fantastic match. I adored this match. I loved it. It was everything that it was meant to be. It was some flippy shit, some kicky shit, just a bunch of kickouts, just like action after action after action. It was exactly what we needed. And then unfortunately for our next contestants, they hit a bit of a speed bump after the Speedball match, and it was a Spitfire versus Rosemary, and won. Rock and roll. Spooky Chew, the Sleep Demon.
Rock and roll, Spooky Chew.
Rock and roll, Spooky Chew. Unfortunately, the Spooky Sisters, they lost their asses on that one. And Spitfire was able to get the victory. And then after the match, Rosemary turned on Wendy Choo, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're going to have a match at this coming up week on Halloween, which I think would make sense. But NXT has a show on Sunday night. So they have a show tomorrow night, and I don't know if Wendy Choo is a part of it. So we'll see. I don't know, but we'll find out what the spoilers are if they end up coming out, and I think that they will. But the match wasn't very good. I got to be honest. I think the crowd was in a lull because of what they had just seen with Speedball and Vikingo. This was a cool down match, and I don't really think that's very fair to the girls. Like they did that to and every company does it to the women's, especially when they do women tags. They put them right after like a high octane, high impact match and say, here, you have 7 minutes. Go try to get the crowd back. And then meanwhile, the crowd's like going to the bathroom and they're playing on their phones and then they just need a break. Right. So, and that's kind of what this match was. I don't think the crowd was really into it. The wrestlers are good. I just felt like it didn't really hit. The match just wasn't very good, unfortunately. But, and then the only other, one of 3 tag teams ended up breaking up. So Wendy Choo and Rosemary have now broken up. So we're down to 2 tag teams again, which tells you that the Elegance Sisters are going to get the next tag team title shot coming up at whatever. I don't know, maybe Turning Point in November. We'll see. Backstage, Frankie Kazarian, fresh off his victory in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match earlier, is shown reading Earl Hebner's autobiography. Jim Miller, that was funny. Jim Miller walks up and tells her he's busy reading and studying for a special referee assignment. And so there you go. And the next we get to, which one I thought was one of the best matches of the night, was Steve Macklin versus Josh Alexander. This was TNA booking for me specifically because they know I love these guys, and I felt like Macklin lost, and they know better than to beat Macklin on TV. But if they're gonna beat him, I think that's the way to beat him. Like, he's just a jarhead Marine, and he's too stubborn to let the referee take off the zip ties, and he did a bunch of crazy shit with it. Like that dive with his arms behind his back, going under the middle and bottom rope to the outside to do that tope was sick. And then he landed right on his fucking shoulder. I'm like, Macklin, dude, we need you in the company. Like, we're getting ready to lose all these people. Like, you have to be the next top guy in the company. Please don't get hurt. Like, I felt like he was going to break his shoulder on that move. It looked pretty sick. But he ended up wrestling the rest of the match with his hand zip tied behind his back. Yeah, Justin says the dive with the zip ties is goated. Yeah, Lil Silver says that match was great. Yeah, I really loved the match. I just adore these 2 dudes. Like, they're like what I think professional wrestling should be is Steve Macklin and Josh Alexander. Like, if I had to like tell you like, hey Mike, what is perfect pro wrestling? It's Steve and Josh. Like that's just for me. They remind me of, I think it was Ao brought it up in the chat earlier. It was Steve and Brett, and Steve Austin and Bret Hart, my favorite feud from when I'm a child. Like, I have a t-shirt with their faces on it from WrestleMania 13. Like, I love that feud so much. So if they can kind of reenact some of that stuff and do that here in TNA, count me in. I don't even care if they just completely rip it off. Just fucking do it. Like, it was great. Just do that. I think it was awesome. Lil Silva says TNA protected Steve Macklin so he doesn't lose clean. Yeah, I felt like they did make him lose. He lost like a tough guy. Bit of a dum-dum. Why not wanting the referee to cut the zip ties? So, notwithstanding the fact that he's a bit of a dummy for that, the character Steve Macklin, he also came across as just a giant badass, and he ended up. It would have been better if he was bleeding, with the pass out, but he wasn't. So I think they're gonna get to that at some point. And then we go to the next match. PCO defeated Matt Cardona in a Monsters Ball match. So we had our first like real gimmicky match of the night. They did doors. I'm sorry. They did doors, barbed wire, thumbtacks, chairs, all kinds of stuff. I happen to be a fan of PCO and a fan of Matt Cardona, and I enjoyed this match too. So at this point, opening match, fantastic. Women's tag, not so good. Steve Macklin and Josh Alexander, another awesome match. And then this one was fun. It was stupid, mindless fun. And I think that they should do it again on Halloween. I think that would be cool. But Matt Cardona is not signed here. He doesn't have an agreement. He's working week to week. And I think PCO, I know he re-signed last year. I thought he only signed for 1 more year. It wouldn't surprise me if he's extended out because he is a crucial part of the show. Every pay-per-view, PCO figures in. He is like in the middle of every pay-per-view, you're going to get some type of PCO type of gimmick match. And they're always really fun and they always get over. And then the snobs online always talk shit on it. But what they're not seeing is the crowd going crazy for it. And that's really all that matters. And Justin has a good point. He said the Ghostbusters gear was a great touch. I thought that was pretty cool because I'm a Ghostbusters fanatic. I love the Ghostbusters. I like the newest ones with Paul Rudd. I like the newest ones with Paul Rudd. I did not like the one with all the girls. It just wasn't very good. I was excited. I went to the theater to watch it. And I just didn't think it landed. So I'm big time Ghostbusters. Io says PCO getting awarded for all the Slammiversary sales. Yeah, I think they got to bump up his pay. And then King of the North says, it's me, I'm snobs. Yeah, he is kind of a snob. He said, just say it's me. I wasn't specifically talking about you, but yeah, you are a snob. But that's like, everybody should like what they like, you know? And if you don't like something, that's okay too. We ain't got to like all the same shit. I just happen to think that PCO is fun, right? He's never going to win the Daniel Bryan Award or Bryan Danielson Award for Best Technical Wrestler. But he's going to eat some thumbtacks and bleed and hurt himself. And I'm going to laugh. And I think it's going to be fun. Transferring heat, calling me sexist just because I didn't like the girls Ghostbusters. Hey, look, the movie didn't land. What do you want me to do? Not my, like, I'm not sexist because I didn't like the movie. It didn't hit for me. It just wasn't very good. I didn't feel like it landed, but I like the two new ones. I saw all three in the theater. Because I just happen to really enjoy Ghostbusters. All right, let's get to the next match. Mike Santana defeating Moose. I thought this match was tremendous. And I hope a lot of the media I know Ibu was able to watch. I hope a lot of the media was able to watch so they can finally start coming around on Santana. Because I think when he chose to leave AEW, he wasn't fired. I think they wanted to keep him around. But he didn't like the position he was in. So he, like Ibu said, he went out and did something about it. And I think this signing for TNA has been a home run. He is the perfect guy for this company. And this company is the perfect company for a guy like him who believes in himself that he can be a top guy. And so now he has to prove to everybody that he can be a top guy in a smaller company before a bigger company will take him seriously. So if he gets over here, and business continues to go up, and if he's like kind of up on the card and he's doing good stuff, I think that, you know, bigger companies will, you know, try to take advantage of that and maybe give him another shot. Or, you know, TNA will just end up paying him, like if they can compete with some of those companies for whatever salary he would command, you know, he's going to be around for a couple of years. So maybe they can just compete with that. So, but he has bet on himself, and I feel like he has done a great job. I thought Moose was really good in the match too. I thought these guys have great chemistry. I hope we get to see it again. But this kind of looked like it was the blow off for the feud, and I'm going to be interested to see where Santana goes next. But I thought this match was really, really good. I thought it was better than the Masha Jordan Grace match, but I also thought Masha and Jordan Grace was good. I felt like the beginning of the Masha Jordan Grace match, they were still kind of coming down from the end of the Moose Santana match, if that makes sense. It wasn't at the level of Vikingo and Speedball, but I think they were kind of struggling a bit to get the crowd into it in the early stages. Now, there were like a handful of fans who were trying to get chants going because they just like these two. So they were really trying hard to get chants going. But the rest of the crowd wasn't into it. But then by the end of the match, they'd hit enough moves. They had done enough dramatic stuff, really hard hitting. Like what I think women's wrestling should be is Grace and Slamovich. I mean, Slamovich hit a burning hammer on Grace. So like very hard hitting, kind of strong style. I guess you would say Joshi style. I know Masha is Joshi trained, obviously. And I really thought that it was great. King of the North says, did fans just not buy Masha winning? I think Masha was new to a lot of people that were there. They know Jordan, but Masha has not been a push act for 2 years. She's been kind of laying low in the tag division for a while. And so she had to gain their trust. And I felt like by the end of it, she had won all the people over because Masha is the person that's going to replace Jordan Grace at the top of that division while Jordan Grace rides off into the sunset and goes down in history as one of the great knockouts in TNA history. I think Masha is that next person to take over that spot. It's just unfortunate that they didn't start pushing that earlier, right? And turn her babyface earlier and start that sooner They really did it on a 30-day timeline. But I still think the execution by the end of it, I thought was very good. So I do wonder if we're going to get this match again. I think we will. Because when Jordan beat Masha in 2022, they wrestled 3 times and Masha won all 3 times. So I think Masha and Jordan need to do a couple more. They have two TNA Plus specials coming up. They got Turning Point in November and they got Final Resolution in December. I think they can do at least 2 more matches and then send Jordan off to WWE. I think that's the way to go. King says, that's what I mean. Did they do enough to push her as a threat to Jordan Grace? I don't think they did in the lead up to it. So they had to get that accomplished during the match. And I felt like by the end of the match, they accomplished that. Because Jordan even said it herself, I've beaten you 3 times. Like we've already done this dance in 2022. And this is how, and that was part of Jordan's promos leading up to it. It was very Combat Sports-esque. Like, I've already beaten you 3 times. But I know that you're better than you were then, but so am I. Like that kind of stuff. So I thought the match was great. I thought Masha looked great. Little Shorty says not gonna like Snowplow off top. Looked more like a superplex, but I'm happy Masha went over. It did look like a superplex. But you know what? I think more people should win with superplexes. So I thought that worked for me. I thought the match worked for me. And then we go to Nick Nemeth defeating Joe Hendry for the TNA Championship. This match was utter shit. It was just convoluted horseshit with the special referee and Kaz teasing the cash in several times. This looked like it. I mean, the match should have been on a B-level WWE show and not a $40 pay-per-view. I just don't understand. I don't understand why they thought this was going to be a good idea. And I think we all kind of cringed when we saw it coming. I saw that. And so, and what it ended up being is what we all thought it was going to be, an overbooked mess. The problem is Joe Hendry ended up losing. I think had he won, people would be singing a different tune. They wouldn't be saying, hey, the match was great, but at least you got the result that you liked. And then you start connecting more stories together, right? Because you got Nemeth that can get a rematch. You still got this asshole with the briefcase. You got JBL for whatever fucking reason, clotheslining people. Like you would have people set up for Joe Hendry, but instead Hendry loses, and he loses relatively clean. Like JBL came down and clotheslined Kaz, right? And then he clotheslined Joe Hendry to the outside. Joe Hendry gets rolled. Then Joe Hendry gets rolled into the ring. And then it's a 2 count. And so they keep going. They go for a few more minutes. And then Nemeth beats him. It wasn't completely clean, but relatively clean. So, so that's what it was. I just didn't get it. Jan says, is TNA brain dead? Why not give the belt to Joe Hendry? Well, I think they can do more business with Joe Hendry chasing the title. I happen to disagree. But like I have said on numerous occasions, I'm wrong a lot. So we'll see where it goes. I completely disagree. I think Hendry should have won. And I thought they should have been building him up to be like their next John Cena. But they just keep beating the guy, and they keep beating it's not like 5 guys are beating him up and this is big screw job. It's just like minor cheating. So that's what it is. It's minor cheating. But look, in January for Genesis, they got the big pay-per-view there, January 19th. That's at the Curtis Culwell Center in Dallas, Texas. I hope my buddy Junkyard Akiyama is going to attend that. I need him to be my correspondent, the Brace for Impact correspondent. But that's a decent sized arena. Like AEW ran that place, and Ring of Honor ran that for some of their pay-per-views with AEW backing, and it looks really good on television. So I think that's a big show. And then they're going like a week later, not even a week later, they're going to San Antonio to that 2,000 seat arena that they just sold out, and they did really good business back to back there in September. And they're going to do a live episode of TNA Impact. So if they're doing live episode of TNA Impact and they need to sell all those tickets, I think I mean, they should have done it tonight, but if they didn't do it tonight, they should flip the title on the first live episode of Impact in what has to be well over 10 years. Somebody in the chat find out when the last. No, I'm not counting that one that was WrestleMania weekend where they just showed matches from like previous tapings. They just happened to be live in the studio. Someone find out when the actual last live episode of Impact was. It had to have been in the Spike TV era. So I think they think that they're going to do business for that episode. At least like they have to be. If not, Jan, you're correct. They're brain dead idiots. They're big time dum-dums. And then finally we get to the main event. And we got the Hardys defeating ABC in the System in a Full Metal Mayhem. And Mayhem was very, very apropos mayhem. It was, there were times, Io corrects me. He says 2017 Impact was the last live Impact. So was that on Pop TV? Would that have been Pop TV or is that Destination? I think that was Pop TV. And Lil Silva says the last live episode of Impact Wrestling aired on December 24, 2014 on Spike. I don't know if that's true. No, Io says it was a Pop TV episode. Pop TV. Okay, so we have a whole debate going. Okay. So we get to the main event. This thing was convoluted again. Overthought. I think Jeff Hardy took some perks and started decorating and it looked fucking weird, but then I was like, okay, they're just doing something unique for the thing. And so after a while, my old school mentality got over that part. But they were taking so long. They were taking so long to set up some of these spots at certain times, specifically with that construction ladder, like in the middle of it, it just like the crowd kind of died on it. And everybody kind of was like, okay, what are we doing here? So it got really, really slow. But by the end, they had done a bunch of big moves and they got the crowd into it. So by the end, it turned out to be okay. But like the first, whatever, like 15 minutes of it, like outside of a few sections of the match was kind of a struggle. Right. And then, but what does Jeff Hardy do? He almost kills himself and then people get back into it. Right. So, I really I like seeing Jeff Hardy almost die. I don't know what it is, but I've been watching him since I was a kid, almost die, and I happen to like it. So I've been watching that forever. And I've also, and then I also really liked the spot where they did the edge spear off the ladder to Chris Bay. I thought that was kind of cool. So they had some really cool spots by the end of it. And then of course the crowd was just hot for the match by the end of it, because regardless of what people think about the Hardys, they're fucking over. Everywhere they go, they're over. And in TNA with Joe Hendry, they're the most overact in the company. And people are like, why did the Hardys win the tag team titles? Well, did you see the pop? Did you see the crowd going crazy? Did you see all the grown adults dressed like Jeff Hardy in the crowd? Did you see how crazy they went for the theme song, both like coming out and then for the end of it? Hardy's, this was Hardyville in fucking Detroit, but they also have 2 shows coming up in North Carolina. And I think they're going back to Spartanburg too. I think I saw somewhere that they were trying to go back to Spartanburg in South Carolina. So that's why they're like, we say what we want about it, but they're over, and TNA uses them like kind of perfectly. I just felt like most of this match hit the mark or missed the mark. I'm sorry. Most of the match missed the mark. By the end of it, people got the result that they wanted, and they got enough big moves. I think most of the audience was going to go home happy with that match, regardless of what happened on the rest of the show. So overall, and I gotta go in 5 minutes, but overall, I thought the show was a positive. I really enjoyed it. There was obviously some stuff that wasn't so great. Okay. Let me get to some of the chats here. King of the North says, I believe AO because he does PR for TNA. They really should pay AO for PR. He does it better than they do. Like legit. He does. They don't know what they're doing half the time, but AO's like out there like plugging their shit all the time, more than they do themselves, creating graphics for them and all that stuff. He's great. Transfer Heat said, I'll say it in AEW, I'll say TNA, I don't need the Hardys doing ladder matches anymore, but glad the crowd popped for them. Yeah, I feel like they're trying to kill Jeff. So I feel like they're trying to kill Jeff. literally he set his ladder. He set ladder too close to the table. Jeff hit his head on the ladder doing the swan. Yeah, like that's when I thought like he finally died. He finally died. Io says they have the longest meet and greet lines. Yeah, they do. Okay, Jan. Is BFG as TNA's WrestleMania? Why not have him win the main event? I think that's the biggest misconception that BFG is TNA's WrestleMania. Because every year the show that ends up doing the best is Slammiversary. And Hard to Kill did the biggest pay-per-view because of the initial TNA push. Slammiversary typically every year is like their biggest show, but they just say it for Bound for Glory because that's just something that they've been saying for a long time. But I agree with you. I think he should have won. King says Uncle Dave needs to shit on this like he shit on Shelton Benjamin. Here's the biggest difference. AEW is a challenger brand, and they're bringing in these almost 50-year-old dudes and beating up some of their up-and-coming young talent. And that was what TNA did when they were the number 2 challenger brand. They're bringing in these guys who were like mid-carders or like opening acts or not even on the show half the time. So it's the perception of the audience. It's like, hey, we find this guy, Shelton Benjamin. I think we all think just Shelton's great. He is great. He's fantastic. But you take a look at the perception of the television audience. They're bringing in these 50-year-olds to beat up your young up-and-coming talent for a challenger brand. TNA is not a challenger brand. TNA is just trying whatever they can to get a foothold in the industry. And I think ABC is going to get the titles back from the Hardys. I think that's the long play. But right now the Hardys are hot. And you have to go with them. You do. You just have to. Let's see. Transfer Heat says nostalgia is a drug for wrestling fans, but for me, it's leave the memories alone. I'm just talking about the Hardys and ladder matches. Turning Point of WrestleCade, looking forward. Yeah. Let's see. Exactly like pulling Cody, like they pulling Cody. Sorry, dude, I can't read right now. They're pulling Cody, making Hendry lose on the first biggest show. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do with him is do a Cody thing. King says ABC guys need to move up the card as singles guys. I agree. I think by 2025 we're going to see the roster turn over quite a bit, and I think that we need to start seeing not only ABC but the Rascals move up the card. I don't think you can break up both teams at the same time, but at some point both those teams need to break up, because tonight on the pre-show I thought the guy who came across as the biggest star was Zachary Wentz. I thought he was great. I thought he was great. So, and then I think Ace Austin and Chris Bay have been main eventers in this company before, and now they've been kind of like in the tag team scene for a while. I think they have to beat the Hardys at some point, and then eventually they got to break the team up like they had been teasing before, and then they got to move up the card. They need to be challenging for world heavyweight titles. It has to happen. All right, guys. Hey, thank you, everybody. I had a hard out at 6:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. This was probably my biggest live show for Brace for Impact to date, so I greatly appreciate everybody for being here. Get Leon Slater up the card too. Leon Slater needs to be their world heavyweight champion within 2 years. Within 2 years, 100%. But I have a hard out. It's 6:30. So right now it's getting dark here in Hawaii, and we are scheduled to walk around the neighborhood looking at our Halloween decorations. Our neighbors put up a bunch of good stuff, so I got to go dad duty, and then I gotta get some food and call it a night. But I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm gonna leave you guys with the video that Yellowbone put together for everybody with my song "Realm of the Dead." And make sure you go to patreon.com/Mike and JD Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Check out this video, and we are out. Until next time, mahalo.
TNA Wrestling, we're back! You gotta be kidding me! I walked through the shadows to that territory, felt the cold embrace that I needed before the ground beneath me shakes. the sky begins to tear, but I will not fall, I refuse to stare. I hear the voices calling for the love that you left me. I'm